welcome back to the Wolf Pack. Today's video is going to be talking all about my thoughts on Tend. It is not a sponsored review as always. What you see now was produced initially from the preview video that I'll link here. So definitely check that video out first because that's what we did for our sponsored segment. But this video, no one asked me to do this video. I wanted to do it out of my own pocket because I just really want to talk about this game and how good it is. So first off, I think the biggest pro about Tend for me is that the combos here are so satisfying across the board. Like if you know my channel, you know that I'm usually not the biggest fan. I'm like not the biggest fan at all for flipping rights, rolling rights, X and right type games. I don't like those kind of games. I usually like the big area control, massive combat, giant scale production type games. Like I feel like if you watch this channel enough, then you know like the type of games that I do enjoy. So when you have these kind of tear off type games like that, I'm usually not a big fan of. And the only other exception to that would probably be Rolling Realms by Stonemaier Games. I think that one's a fun, lighter game. But Tend honestly manages to just flip everything around. And I really, really love this game. We played it last night twice, once at 2 players, once at 3 players, and it was just so incredibly fun. So again, going back to that point here about the combo generation, I think that is the most satisfying part about Tend because once you gain one resource, you can use it for so many different things. And on top of that, it combos off and chains into many other actions as well. If I were to take a mining action right now, and I gain a purple hatchet icon, I can take that icon, and then now I can level up, and now I've gained a coin. On top of that, I can open up another square again in the woods, and I opened up a log. With that log, I can take it to go ahead and build another fence out here, and then that can go towards building livestock. So that's just one action in this game, and you get 2 actions every single time. So it's so much fun to be able to figure out how you can utilize these resources properly, and it really does feel like Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley kind of combined together in a true board game form. Like you have this really beautiful open sandbox that's just so incredibly satisfying. But the downside to this immediately is that what I'm kind of indifferent about for this game is that it kind of locks you into one path. So if I were to spend all my actions towards tending and mining, then I don't really want to go off and do fishing or chopping, because then those actions, it's like if you spread yourself too thin, you're not gonna score many points by the end of the game. So you really want to focus in on a couple of different tracks. And I find that as like good and bad. It's good because you become really, really good. You become experts at those things. You can chop off the whole set of woods later on by the end of the game. But at the same time, it's like, but I also want to try a little bit of fishing. And I also want to try a little bit of planting and harvesting. And that's not going to be good for me to do because you're not going to be rewarded at all for that. So the game does lock you into specific paths, but at the same time, the games are so quick. Like 12 rounds sounds like a lot, but it's so quick when you just have 2 actions and minimal upkeep, and then you go back to taking those 2 actions again. So the games are so fast where you can just run it back and then try out a new strategy and a new path for your next round, which I think is like there's a pro and con to both of that. Now to go off of that point, Tend really, really excels at bringing in the fun and the addicting gameplay immediately. As soon as you start this game, you are taking actions right away. And like I said, it just feels so like Animal Crossing in board game form, because like in Animal Crossing, if you ever played that game, you're like logging or you're digging through different parts of your island, you're fishing right away, and you're gaining those things to make progress. And progress here is done so incredibly well. Like I really love how you're using items to access more items, and then those items to access upgrades. And that right there is the addicting part about this gameplay, is that you're constantly chaining actions off back to back to back. So it always feels like you're doing something on your turn, and you're doing a lot. Plus, as the game goes on and you move into Season 2 action cards and Season 3 action cards, the game rewards you for being pros or specific on specific tracks. So then you'll gain extra bonuses. And with those bonuses, again, it just combos off longer and longer as you progress through the game. So the progression system in this game is absolutely spot on. I love it. The third thing I like about this game is that it really mimics that cozy vibe that you get from Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, especially because it's simultaneous play, so there's not really much downtime because everyone's taking their turns all together. Of course, when you first play, you can take one action or one turn at a time just to make sure everyone is doing things properly and not scoring fish times 10. Josh. Let me just get an upgraded lure right now, are we? But then after that, after everyone is doing the rules properly and making sure they know how the game works, then it flows super, super fast because again, you're just doing simultaneous turns and everyone's taking turns at the same exact time. The second and last negative I have to point out about this game is actually stemming off of that point, which is your neighbor cards. So I feel like there's limited player interaction in this game. And for me, this is a game where I do want that kind of player interaction. So your neighbor awards, unfortunately, from how it's being played so far, again, please know that this is a prototype set of rulebooks and components, but your neighbor awards, once you have them, you are locked in and you cannot change them out. So if you have a very difficult reward to get, like a very rare fish or something, then it's hard for you to get that and you're locked in and now you get zero interaction with the player next to you. That I have an issue with because I feel like you should be able to either switch out your neighbor reward cards during the neighbor phase, or you have some rewards that you can access easier to give to your neighbor. Honestly, I was thinking about it last night too, and I realized that as we were playing, the more you play, the quieter the game gets. And for me, I wasn't the biggest fan of that because the reason why everyone gets more and more quiet is because everyone gets more and more actions. So everyone's like hyper-focused playing that solitaire type game. So I feel like one big way for you to increase player interaction, aside from making the rewards easier to access for your neighbors, is to have like an empowered action. Because then I have an incentive to either work with my neighbor temporarily or just like co-op with them for a second, even though this is a competitive game, right? So like instead of a regular chopping, maybe I could take an empowered chopping action so I can open up 4 tiles together with my neighbor. Something like that where we take actions together combined. That way it incentivizes you to talk with your neighbor and just have that play interaction that I really do crave in this game. Because it's just like, if you're building a homestead, you're building a beautiful set of resources and a beautiful farm, you want to share that with others. So I do miss that in this game and I feel like they definitely can increase some play interaction there. The reason why 10 has made me love this specific flip and write so much is because it shows the potential of world building with a pen and paper in a game. And it's just so satisfying to see because you can build fences, you can till the land, you can also, which is super cool about this game, and for the production quality of Ivy Studios is, I'm not surprised how good this production quality is, but it really goes to show how immersive you can make this world feel. Because with this scratch and write, you can scratch off stuff and you won't have any idea of what you're scratching off. So this feeling of the unknown and the surprises that you get from harvesting resources in the woods or going to the mines and unlocking or finding some new ores and everything, like that feeling is so rewarding. And having that randomized too, that's awesome because then everyone has something different. Plus, the randomness of fishing, not knowing if you're gonna get nothing at all, which I think is absolutely spot on and fine with fishing too, because if you roll and you roll poorly, then you're gonna be more incentivized to get a better rod and to also upgrade your lures, just like actual fishing. So the randomness in fishing, the level of immersion of world building, the surprises that you get from the scratch-offs, having that creative freedom to allocate your resources anywhere, to either score points for some end of season rewards or to use badges or to use them and sell them to the corporate commissary to get some more actions by getting some energy bars. There's just such an open world feeling to this flip and write that I absolutely love. In fact, I showed this to a group yesterday that typically only plays combat-oriented games and area control games, fault because of me, and they absolutely loved this flip and write because it's so satisfying to be rewarded for chaining off different actions left and right. You want to keep playing this game because you want to find out all the different combinations that you can play throughout, and 10 is just such a big hit so far. So with that, hope you all enjoyed my thoughts about 10. Go and let me know down in the comments below if this is a game that you're deciding to back or not. You planning to back it? You planning not to back it? Let me know. I want to know all your thoughts down below. And if you made it here to the end of the review video, go ahead and comment pumpkin for this thick pumpkin down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.